Great. Well, thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy schedules today to join us for our annual meeting. Everybody's dealing with COVID-19 issues, and I know you have a lot of other places to steer your direction to, and I really appreciate your time. We are going to go ahead and get started with the agenda. Oops. Okay, Nathan, if you would go ahead and please take the roll.
Be happy to. All right. Captain Ross.
Captain Ross, online.
Thank you. Commissioner Rogers.
Commissioner Rogers here.
Deborah Muniz.
Here.
Tammy Mason. Tammy Mason. Colonel Bell.
I'm here.
Dr. McFall.
I'm here, thank you.
Howard House. Dr. Horrell. James Griffin. James Griffin. Dr. Gresham. Dr. Combs. I'm here. Bernard's here.
I'm here.
Madam Chair is here. We have 9 present.
Great, thank you. Okay.
I would just remind everyone to mute their lines while they're not speaking.
Okay, this is Deanna. Since we met last year, we have had a change out on our military representatives and have picked up 3 directors of schools in addition to our existing directors of schools. So joining us in his official capacity as a member of our state council for the first time is Captain Ross from Millington Naval Air Station. He's the commanding officer of Naval Support Activity Mid-South. And then also for the first time in his official capacity as a member of our committee is Colonel Jeremy Bell, who is the current garrison commander at Fort Campbell. So welcome to you gentlemen to our meeting today, and thank you for your participation up to this point. Our other members, new members, are Dr. Combs, Superintendent of Schools for Tipton County Schools, James Griffin, Director of Schools for Millington Municipal Schools, and Dr. Horrell, Superintendent of Lakeland Schools. And I want to thank Jennifer Lundy, the School Liaison Officer at Millington, for recruiting those gentlemen to our state council. Speaking of school liaison officers, we have 3 active in our area. We have Jennifer Lundy. She covers Millington Naval Air Station and the many school systems that support Millington. And then we have Melissa Silva and Taranet Johnson Williams for Fort Campbell. Is Melissa with us, Taranet, or are you solo?
I'm here.
I am
here. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
I am here.
Thank you. Okay. Did Mr. Jenkins from the Tennessee National Guard join us? With the COVID-19, several of you have seen in the news that a lot of our National Guard and reservists have been activated to assist. And so I'm actively recruiting Mr. Jenkins to join our state council. He covers the state family services and education programs for the National Guard. And he may have been pulled away today. He had planned on joining us. Do we have any other guests joining us today? Is there anybody from the national office? Okay. Our purpose is pursuant to the terms of the Interstate Compact on Educational Opportunities for Military Children, the Compact, which is the law that's been passed in all 50 states, plus Washington, D.C. We were established to fulfill the objectives of the compact through a means of joint cooperative action among the compacting states to promote, develop, and facilitate a uniform standard that eases the state-to-state transition of military personnel, their spouses, and primarily their children, as these children transfer from one state to another and from one school system to another as a direct result of their parents' frequent reassignments. Okay, our next order of business is every year when we meet, we are to elect 3 officers for the state council. And Bernard's been elected in absentia the last couple years, but I did check with him in advance. And without objection, all 3 members listed, myself, Bernard, and Nathan, are willing to continue in this capacity unless any of the other attendees would like to volunteer to fill one of these slots. So are there any nominations from the floor? Okay, is there a motion to accept the continuation of the 3 current officers?
Commissioner Rogers, motion to accept.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Deb Munis, I second.
Thank you, Deb. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any objections? Okay, congratulations, everyone, again. All right, moving on, Deb Munis, if you would like to go ahead and speak to the Purple Star School Award.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to share some information about the schools that have applied for the Purple Star Award. I want to start by going back to the purpose of the Purple Star School Award. The reason this was started was it was designed to highlight military-friendly schools that show a major commitment to serving students and families connected to our nation's military. So when this award we developed it, there were several things the schools had to do in order to show this commitment. They had to have a point of contact, and each one of our 6 schools that applied has a contact. They had to have a website that was specifically designed for military families, and each one of our schools has that. Then there's a list of things that they could choose, and each school seemed to do things a bit different. They could do professional development in their building. They could pass a board resolution. They could have an annual military appreciation program. They could have a public display in their building, like billboards that shared information about military families or different military events. They could host a military appreciation event. They could celebrate the month of the military child. They could hold a support group for the military children or families. They could have fundraisers for veterans and active duty members. So with that in mind, I'd like to go down to our schools, because what I'd like to do once we get through there is if we could hold a vote on accepting this as our first annual or inaugural class of the Purple Star School Award, that would be great. The first school that I'm going to cover is the Millington Central High School. And the things that they did, of course, they had the 2 requirements of the POC and the website, but then they actually had several. They had been doing informal professional development. They had a military program. They host a military appreciation event, and they also celebrate the month of the military child. Millington Middle School, of course, they did the 2 essentials. Then they had professional development. They host a military appreciation event. They celebrate Month of the Military Child, and they have posted a military display. Ringgold Elementary School has professional development. They host a military appreciation event. They celebrate Month of the Military Child. They have a posted military display, and they have groups to support military-related students. Rossview Middle School hosts a military appreciation event, celebrates Month of the Military Child, hosts a military-friendly program, and they too have groups that support military-related students. Rossview High School has professional development, hosts a military appreciation event, celebrates Month of the Military Child, has a posted military display, groups to support military-related students. They also have student ambassadors, students who connect with new students coming into the building. Sequatchie Middle School hosts a military appreciation event, hosted military display, fundraisers to support military veterans, and they their point of contact has actually been out into other schools within the district to share information about the Purple Star Award and information about serving military children. So Deanna, I'll give this back to you. If we could do a vote. Does anybody have questions? I feel like I went through that, but I bugged you so many times about it. I was trying desperately to get this within the Month of the Military Child, and just with the coronavirus taking over everybody's life, I decided to back off and talk to Deanna about maybe just doing this in this meeting to kind of save everybody some stress. So Deanna, can I give it back to you for
Sure.
us to vote?
And since we're all on the phone or on the computer, I think that I'll do the approval process backwards. Are there any objections to accepting the 6 listed schools as our inaugural class of Tennessee Purple Star School Awards? Okay, no objections. So with that being said, we will approve these 6 schools as our inaugural class. Deb, will you explain what will happen now?
Yes, actually, if you can flip to the next slide. So here's kind of what will happen next. I'll notify each of the winning schools. I'll contact their superintendent, principal, and the point of contact, and I will set a date for the delivery of the award materials. And here I have to take a deep breath because I cannot say thank you enough to MCEC for the banners. We have huge banners that are beautiful, and those will go out to those 6 schools, and I'm sure they will very proudly display those. Also, press releases and newspaper announcements will be sent out to designated media. So the schools can kind of pick which media or which television station, radio station they'd like those to go out to. When those go out, and I would talk with Deanna about, I would like to deliver their banners and a copy of the press release, just as a personal thank you for the work they do. If there are any members of this committee that would like to be present, if you let me know, I will gladly provide that information to you when the school has said that they can make that presentation. Then I just want to give you.
This is
I'm
Nathan.
sorry.
I'm certainly interested in if you send an email out, you know, as far as any of them go, might be a great chance to make.
Okay, Nathan, I can do that. Maybe I'll just send out out an email to everyone, and then if you're interested in attending, if you just let me know, that way I can let the school know that, you know, they may have a couple people coming to do this presentation. I think it's an awesome opportunity for people, you know, to share their thoughts and just so future work. I just want to kind of quickly go through this. So if you have any comments or want to share anything, please do so. I'm going to be reworking the course because the one thing, even when I was in Ohio, one of the things that I found about the course that we had was that I didn't like that it didn't go more specifically into the to each of the components of the MIC3. So I will be doing that. Then also I want to do a little reworking on the application, just to include the principal's name, and then also some of the activities of the schools that we're awarding this year. I would like to include those on our list so that future schools can use those. Things like groups to support military-related students. Every time I've been in a group with military children and parents, or children of military parents, one of the things they would like to have is someone that knows exactly what they're going through. So things like that, I would like to include in our list. Just schools like Sequatchie County, who has, when I was looking at the form, has like 0 students listed as coming from military families. They may not be able to use it now, but once they have a child or 2 children come in, then they know that's something they can rely on or go back to. So the other thing is, and I may need some of your help, I really would like to get more information out to schools, because I think this is a way for schools to look at, you know, what is it that military families need. And so if there's conferences or workshops that where teachers and principals might be, that I could show up and do like a 15-minute, you know, here's what it is, you know, here's how you apply, that kind of thing, doing some promoting, please let me know. I would love to be a part of that. Also in August, I will start, you know, sending out information again. Nathan, probably need your help again about reposting, putting things back up with some of the tweaks, that kind of thing, just to help us get more schools. And I'm hoping, you know, some of the schools that didn't apply from these districts will apply this year, and we can continue to grow. All right, I think Deanna, I think I've rambled long enough today.
Does anybody have any questions for Deb about Purple Star Schools? And like Deb said, we can't thank MSEC enough. We don't have a budget in the state of Tennessee, so this council, myself and Deb, we have no money. Well, this is all a volunteer effort. And so when we were getting ready to roll out the Purple Star School Award Program, and we've seen what other states have been able to present to schools, I had to grovel a little bit, but Deb and I had teamed up, and we were able to get MSEC to go ahead and donate the first round of banners, which I think is super important, that these schools have something to show that they're a Purple Star school. So if you don't know about MSEC, that's the Military Child's Education Coalition. They're very, very active in the military communities. So does anybody have any questions for Deb? Oh, sorry.
I was just going to
Anybody
say,
have any comments?
I was just going to say their website has a lot of great support information, and I use it a lot anywhere I am to kind of share information from military families.
Okay, so every year we go through our hot issues in Tennessee, and the rising hottest issue has been class ranking for high school seniors. And I was hoping that one or more of the directors of schools from around Millington were going to be present, or even from Clarkson, Montgomery County, because they're well aware of what's going on as far as class ranking goes. But the next few slides are based on a parent comment. And such an advocate for his child, did graphs and everything trying to explain it. But the big issue is that, for example, a child comes from another state where the weighting of grades for advanced placement or honors classes is the same weight as a regular class. But then they come into the state of Tennessee, where we have a uniform grading code that assigns additional points for those classes. So they're coming in with a transcript where they may have taken an honors class. That transcript is weighted lower than it would have been if they would have been in Tennessee for that class. Therefore, they fall lower in class ranking when it comes to graduation than they would have if they would have been in our state for their whole four-year high school career. So on the next slide is what our current percentages are for grades, and then how the points are assigned based on if it's an honors class, dual enrollment, or advanced placement. And this parent was concerned because his child was coming into Tennessee at the end of her junior year and was not going to rank as high in her senior year because there was no way to go back and adjust her transcript. If you remember last fall, I had requested a legal opinion from the attorney for the compact about how that should have been handled, because it's not a compact issue. There's nothing in the law language, the legal language of the compact that speaks to the weighting of grades. This is also from the parent. Basically, he's advocating that all students should be treated fairly, that the unweighted GPA and associate letter grade should not be changed, regardless of the transcript. Numeric grades may be adjusted when required to align to the new school's grade scale. And that was basically what I had said, that in Tennessee, we weight grades higher for those honor classes in advanced placement. I mentioned before that this parent actually made graphs, and here they are, just a comparison of how the differing grade scales affected a child's transcript for high school and class ranking. And these slides, if you don't already have them downloaded, are available on the State Board of Education website under the Military Interstate Children's Compact. And then this was his suggestion for how the conversion could take place. I serve on the Rules Committee for the National Military Interstate Children's Compact, and I did try to get this topic discussed at our annual meeting last year. It was unsuccessful, but I was able to bring it up to the Rules Committee when we met last month. And because not all 50 states are on a uniform grading scale, they felt like the challenge was too hinderous for the compact to look at making a rules change. Just want to report that back to you. And again, his supporting information for that. And so his recommendation was use existing grade conversion procedure for alpha or numeric transcripts. If earned letter or GPA are protected, then transferring numeric grades may be proportionally adjusted when required to align to the new school's grade scale. Well, that's a suggestion. And again, I'm referred to the legal opinion that the legal counsel for the compact said that it's not a compact issue. Let's see, I got ahead of myself in the comments. Here's the legal opinion that came from the legal counsel. And so I'm looking for guidance from from you as a council. Currently, what has happened in Clarksville Montgomery County school system is that when it comes to college applications or scholarship applications, the school system has written a letter that accompanies the applications for scholarships and college admission that explains the difference in the transcripts. And that has been a Band-Aid, and it has worked up to this point. It has covered, it has not made it difficult for a child to obtain scholarships or admission to college, but what it has hindered is it's not a solution for the class ranking situation. So I'm looking for guidance from you. Is this something that you think that I should meet with a member of the state legislature to see if something can be done regarding this on the state level, or what I should do? And I guess, Nathan, you're probably the first person that I would want to hear from on this issue since you're at state board.
Sure, yeah, so I will tell you, I think, I know that there was a bill that, advanced, through the committees to change our grades from, right now you're at 93 to 100 for an A, move us back to a 10-point scale, as we've been on before. It, like a great many other bills, came to a screeching halt when COVID-19 hit, and the House and Senate literally took everything that was on the floor. I had 2 bills on the floor of the House, and I already got through the Senate. But are waiting to see if the legislature will take them up again in June. That having been said, that had more momentum than I've seen before on that. And that's by the representative up in Clarksville, freshman, I'm forgetting his name.
Jason Hodges.
Yeah, Jason's bill. Yeah, it was Jason's bill. And I ended up testifying on that. I would say if for some reason that bill does not make it all the way through the process this year, then you might contact him and let him know that I'd be happy to work with him on that in terms of writing some kind of specific reciprocity language, or something in there to deal with specifically the military child. So I'm happy to do that, and maybe possibly if those grade changes will come anyway. That having been said, uniform grade system has changed 6 times since 2015, and at least 4 of those have been ran for legislature. So when you talk to the directors of schools, they will tell you that it changes often enough that you can have 3 different cohorts in high school at once that all have different grading scales because of the changes.
Right. One thing that we would want to consider is it wouldn't just be, we wouldn't expect it to be just for military children. It should be for all children, because as we're recruiting more business to Tennessee, those corporate kids or kids who are coming with new industry also switch schools quite often. That makes sense, Nathan. Mr. Raymond from Fort Campbell wanted to make a comment on this issue.
Yes, if I may, and I'm representing Colonel Bell. He had to step out to another meeting. My only concern in this is I don't necessarily know if the commission needs to over legislate the EACHS. I think in a lot of these cases, the directors of schools and their competent legal authorities and their competent educational authorities at the director level or the superintendent level, whichever it may be, are more than capable of dealing with, in the case of Clarksville Montgomery County school system, this is an each, and probably within the entire school system, I'm making an assumption because Mr. House is not available, but we're talking about probably less than 10 students across the entire school system. So I don't know that it's a necessity to over legislate something like this, and I concur with the legal opinion that was submitted by the legal folks there on behalf of the compact. I don't know this is something that we need to weigh into at this level that could be solved either at the state level by changing the grading scale as the bills were passing through the legislature, or at the individual district superintendent level, on a case-by-case basis. The letter that you spoke of worked and has worked in the past fine for the students that this has affected within the Clarksville-Montgomery County school system. And I would just be cautious of over-governing something of this nature. Over.
Thank you. Dr. McFall, you're our only superintendent of schools on her call. Do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, I guess, I definitely don't, I like having the fewest amount possible in terms of policies and laws. However, I think to be consistent, and to be fair for most students, I do think this should come down either from the state board or the legislature or something, just so there's a consistent way that it's handled across all districts. Just my point of view.
Thank you. So Nathan,
Commissioner Rogers, can I jump in?
Yes.
Yeah, I just, when you're talking about the legislation and everything, and sorry, I'm not an educator, so I'm just a bit confused, but it seems that these are two separate issues, because you're changing the grading scale is not going to help with the weighting scale of your honors classes and things.
Let me
So,
just a moment.
if you're doing something like that, one, probably want them in two different bills in case, one piece should fail. You don't want it to take the other piece. So put your grading scale on one, and then your weighting issue, because the weighting issue is a little bit more complex. Yeah. And that's just my 2 cents worth on that. I think you're right on the fact that it would affect, more than just military, but in this case, it wouldn't hurt reaching out to the, Veterans Caucus. And, if you want somebody from in there to help run it, or somebody on education committee, either one of those.
Madam Chairman, let me clear something up. So the State Board of Education has policy. We have the state uniform grading policy, and that doesn't have weighted average. That is what THEC and TSAC, the Student Assistance Corporation, use to determine eligibility for the Hope Scholarship. And it is uniform across the board. We're concerned to weighting of these courses as it sits right now. It's up to each individual district to adopt their own district grading policy, which includes the weights. So the weights are wholly, as it sits right now, wholly a function of the LEA, local education board.
Okay. So Nathan, what I think probably our next step on this was maybe you and I can consult with one of the attorneys for state board and see, first of all, if they think it's feasible, and maybe circle back with Representative Hodges to see if it's something he'd like to pursue separately. So what I'm hearing from Dr. McFall is consistency is probably the best policy. Once we hear from the attorney, then I would like to survey the other directors of schools on our council who aren't present today to get their feedback. Does that sound okay with everybody? Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks everybody for your input. I appreciate it.
Let me ask one question. I mean, survey them for their input in terms of making a change to.
If their opinion is similar to Dr. McFall, that if we are going to try and make some changes and put a rule out there to weighting of grades specifically for dual enrollment, advanced placement, honors classes, if that's something that they see as needed or not. Does that make sense? Before we go too far.
Okay, yeah, I will say that in Tennessee, rulemaking authority derives specifically from a law that's passed. So it's
Right.
not like the federal government where any bureaucrat thinks it up, it becomes a rule with the force of law unless Congress acts to stop it. It's precisely the opposite in Tennessee. So for us to change that rule, it would require an act of the legislature specifically changing it in the law. And then we
Right.
could change it in a rule as a result. not gonna be probably an either or, but it is something that's examined on a very frequent basis in the education.
My opinion is before we delve into proposing rules changes or legislation changes, I would like to be able to bounce the idea off of the other directors of schools on our council. Just, if we do pursue it, we're going to need some support, and they're the ones that know how this affects their school systems better than anybody else. So you and I can chat offline about that. Thank you. Okay, speaking of legislation, Nathan, I don't know if you're involved in this or not, but I believe it was Senator Powers from Montgomery County is part of recommending that the residency rule for lottery scholarships and dual enrollment be changed, which is great because a lot of military children have not been able to qualify for the Hope Scholarship, Tennessee Promise, or dual enrollment scholarships. And so this House Bill 1834 and Senate Bill 1580 got pretty far before things were put to a halt due to coronavirus. But hopefully they'll be able to pick it back up when they come back to session in June. Nathan, do you have any comments on this?
No, I mean, I think it'll be up to the individual education chairs about which of these bills end up making it through in the end, and which ones don't. I've had some meetings with each of those chairs to kind of get through which bills they think they'll come up. I'm looking at the list. I'm not necessarily seeing it on there, but that's I'd say the individual members may push for it.
Okay. Well, me personally, this is something that I get asked about quite often from military families who move into Tennessee. And it's not a compact issue, but it's definitely something that would be beneficial to our military families. As Mr. Raymond knows, a lot of families that come to Fort Campbell end up staying here. So I think that's great. And just for your reference, these are the bill numbers so that if you guys want to track it on your own, and I think I did I include the link to it? Yeah, so on slide 21, this link will take you to where you can track the progress on these bills. So I love technology. Okay, and then the other issue, there's been a push from several commissioners from other states to try to incorporate reserve and guard into the compact coverage. And the national organization established a National Guard and Reserve Coverage Task Force. And they were going to look at how difficult it would be to bring them in under the umbrella and how it would affect due structure, et cetera. And basically their mission is to recommend to national office if protections for military connected students already in place for the children of these reserve component service members in Title 10 status should be expanded to cover children of members in other status situations as well. And as I mentioned earlier in this call, our Guard and reservists are being activated to help with the coronavirus. And some of those families are not protected under the compact because they're not in the right title with their orders. Long story short, the report from this committee was due to the National Executive Committee in April, and that didn't happen. I did inquire about it, and of course, because of COVID-19, they weren't able to get everybody together to resolve the issue and make a recommendation to the executive committee. But once I do get a copy of that report, I'll push it out to you all just for your own information, because it's definitely something that I feel like there are military children falling through the cracks right now because their parents are on full-time status to help with COVID-19. So Are there any questions or comments on that? Okay, speaking of COVID-19, Nathan, would you like to give a little report?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, and just, you can tell me if it's too long or needs to get, more brief. What, what I think we probably need to do is sort of set the stage a bit. If you look at the overall responsibilities of the state, the three things that hold them together are, that everybody is concerned with state government for is, transportation, jurisprudence, that is, prisons, jails, and the rule of law, and education. And right now, with everything going on with COVID-19, uh, you have a number one concern is everybody's health, and number two, and maybe getting up to number one, is when do I get to go back to work, and am I going to be left financially destitute? And number three is what are we going to do with our kids, and what do we do with education? So the legislature, before they left town, they passed a bill that required the State Board of Education to create emergency rules governing the situation in terms of K-12 education. So we took this approach. We solicited stakeholder input. Now, keep in mind, it's a very short turnaround time. But the groups we consulted with were the Organization of School Superintendents, the School Boards Association, the Higher Education Commission, of course, the Department of Education, our Attorney General's Office, SCORE, TEA and PET are the teachers' organizations. Our concern is to stay within our legal authority and determine what's appropriate for rule versus issued as guidance or a commissioner's waiver, and also to keep in mind exactly what the federal government has said. Now, you can imagine how difficult it is with 145 plus districts in the state to try to balance the needs for district flexibility wherever possible with the need for enough consistency statewide and things like grading and eligibility, in terms of higher education and what higher ed needs, with local control and the fact that you might have. I can think of a couple of districts in East Tennessee that'll go nameless. One of which every child had an electronic device. Every household had high-speed internet, and so they simply transitioned everything to an online format, and they kept it going. Literally, the next county to the south is lucky to have spotty cell phone coverage, let alone high-speed internet. And the disparities between the two were gargantuan. And so how do you come up with a set of rules that covers all of those things while maintaining high expectations and maximizing opportunities for student learning, according to the realities of the situation also? Other issues that were dealt with as a result of school closures included amending the graduation requirements for our seniors this year. That's 1920. And for students who are on track and eligible to graduate in the 1920 school year, the total number of credit hours required for graduation was reduced from 22 to 20. So students would be required to have at least 4 math credits, 4 English language arts credits, 3 science, 2 social studies, and 7 other high school credit hours in order to graduate this year. The grading considerations for all students taking high school courses. And again, we work with the Higher Education Commission and TSAC, who administers the Hope Scholarship. We identified the need to have a statewide approach to grade calculation for post-secondary purposes, including entrance, placement, and scholarships. Now, students enrolled in high school credit courses will receive as their spring semester grade the grade the student had in the course as of March 20th, 2020. That's the date of the executive order. The grade shall not go down from that date. However, districts may provide remote learning opportunities and other situations to allow students to improve their grades. LEAs would have locally approved grading scales, that's something we were just talking about, for the determination of local honors, may make their own determination with concern to honors, class rank, etc. Suspension of TCAP testing was done for this spring, and we also received a federal waiver for the 1-year suspension of that. Our rule codified that change. Also, seniors do not have to take the ACT, SAT this time. And I will tell you, unlike on the federal side, every time we pass a rule, we have to go and get that ratified by the House and Senate Government Operations Committee. And one of the points that I'm going to make to them is it's not within our power to appropriate the money to make certain that our students who do ACT this year twice, we're the only state in the union that pays for it for every child twice, right? But to put that money in and make sure it's available so that our juniors this year who didn't get it will be able to get it next year as seniors. So there's no final evaluation scores to be calculated for educators for the 1920 school year. No, so that means there's no TVAS data. Legislature also put in a process for LEAs to seek waivers from, and if everybody could mute their line. So they put in a process for LEAs to seek waivers from the Commissioner of Education, but each of those waivers has to be agreed to by the State Board of Education, and those waivers are for rules and situations that are not contemplated in the rules. Also, the 180 days minimum requirement of attendance was waived, and there's a number of issues in there about student teachers and how they'll be able to get their licensing. So that is, I mean, obviously there's loads more that we could go over, but to get to the basic run through, I hope that's helpful.
Does anybody have any questions for Nathan? Nathan, you want to speak to where the FAQs are on your website pertaining to the rules?
Yeah, and of course, each of you got that on there, but on the main splash page, you go tn.gov/SBE, you'll see it right there. You've got a link to the first thing at the top is the administration's COVID-19 Resource Center. That's all parts of the government. You go a little bit farther, down, and at that point in time, let's see. You'll see the first thing, April is the month of the military child. And right below that, you'll see COVID-19 emergency rules. And you'll also see COVID-19 emergency rules frequently asked questions. And so each of you have that, and I hope it's of use to you.
Thank you. You're to be commended on your report. Okay, we're rolling into the stats that are provided to me each year from the Department of Defense. So we have it broke out by age group of how many children, military connected children we have in our state. And this is a little different view than we were given last year. It's much more detailed, but there's the breakout for you. And let's see. Next slide is the federal education impact aid that goes to the following school systems. And I know that when my daughter was still in public school, the first day of school came home, the Are You a Government Connected Family form, and that's where this information comes from to determine where the impact aid goes. This is the Department of Defense impact aid to Montgomery County, Clarksville, Montgomery County. And some more impact aid. And this is the last fiscal year, or the fiscal year we're in now. Okay, Nathan, I can speak to this if you want me to, but here are the resources that are available on the State Board of Education website for the Military Interstate Children's Compact. Resources, our state council meeting recordings, a list of council members, who to contact, which is myself or Deb Munis, information about the Purple Star School Award, Month of the Military Child, which I'll need to remember to ask Elizabeth to rotate that off, and then links to the national website, the national Facebook page, and then the fairly newly minted Tennessee page. So if you were on Facebook, please like the Tennessee Facebook page. We're trying to build up our following, and as I receive information, especially COVID-19 related, that is beneficial to military families, I've been trying to post it on there. And if for some reason you really would like to become an administrator of that page so you can invite people, I don't know, maybe Jennifer or Melissa, just let me know, and Deborah, I could add you to that. These are some valuable resources available on the national website, a PCS move or permanent change of station checklist, several resources, all of the legal opinions, frequently asked questions for parents, and frequently asked questions for schools. Important links are the compact rules, our website on the State Board of Education, the link to the state's Facebook page, the Purple Star School Award information, the link to our state statute, and then our state profile. And Purple Month of the Military Child was all managed virtually this year. We had several events lined up, and of course they ended up being virtual, but Fort Campbell did their Purple Up Day, and so people who dressed up for the Purple Up Days, I had asked to send pictures. I got 4, but 4 is better than 0. But in the bottom left-hand corner is Kathy Fasson, and she is with the Department of Defense Education activity, and she's super supportive of the Military Interstate Children's Compact. We did receive 3 proclamations, one from Governor Lee, one from Montgomery County Mayor Jim Druitt, and one from City of Clarksville Mayor Joe Pitts. And then we received a video message from Congressman Mark Green. He is congressman for Montgomery County, Stewart, kind of this part of Tennessee. And then videos of Mayor Jim Druitt, Mayor Joe Pitts reading their proclamations, and then a video that was produced by the Clarksville Montgomery County school system. And then I ran submit your artwork military child contest, or I don't know, contest, just participation. And these are some of the drawings submitted for military kids. And it was really fun, you know, when they'd messaged the Facebook page and I messaged the parent back to let him know it was posted. The kids get super excited to see their artwork published out there. But it was a lot of fun to see how much traction we received, and I know we couldn't get the word out very far because the schools were closed at this point, but it was fun to get some drawings from the kids. So I don't think we have any public, but does anybody have any public comments? Okay. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning is that this recording of this meeting will serve as our meeting minutes. Right, Nathan?
With that, I ask unanimous consent that it's so.
Okay, will you do that?
Right now, I now ask unanimous consent, Madam Chairman, that the recording of the meeting serve as the minutes.
Are there any objections to that? Okay.